Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We are back, yes, with the men's perspective. And today we are talking to you guys about fatherhood. Well, actually, we're talking about the impact of fatherhood on us as young men. So I've joined forces. You may have seen their faces before. Very handsome, good looking, wavelicious, smart, intelligent, biblical theology, deep, drama filled, all spirit. Well, I'm telling you, there's so many names I could throw with these guys who are joining me today. And the reason why I've got these men together is actually because we started this, I think, last few months ago, but the Lord actually has put it on my heart actually the last few weeks to speak to men. So I want to get the guys together and just kind of give it from a male perspective. Ladies, if you're in a chat, which I know you always are, send this to another male. Yeah, you have male friends, you have a brother, you have a father, you have a younger cousin, whatever. Send it to them, because as males, we need to see other males talking about, fatherhood, how it's impacted us, talking about being a son, and talking about just talking about in general life as men, and some of the struggles that we actually face. So I can see some people have actually dropped off the planet. It looks like it's me and UTD. We're gonna hold it down. We're gonna hold it down. They're gonna come back. They're gonna come back. But TD, what you saying, bro?
Bro, it's a blessing to be here. I think the topic is one that's near and dear to my heart for several reasons. Yeah, I'm excited for the talk today, man.
Why are you excited about the talk though? Well, for several reasons. Why is it close to your heart?
I think the influence of a father can never be second guessed, and in our generation, is something that's is rided on in a way that doesn't look favorably in terms of the direction of fatherhood and having a father in your life. I mean, to just give a quick overview of my personal experience.
Go for
I
it.
grew up in a single parent home, but I did have my father in my life. I would say maybe for the first few years of my life, maybe into my late teens, he was a distant example. So it wasn't like he was completely removed. You couldn't find him. I used to see him as frequently as we could, as per arrangements, the domestic arrangements that had been made. And I did look up to my father, in some respects. But as I grew older, went through the teenage years, became a man, it just became more and more pivotal to look to my father. And looking back over the last maybe 5 years or so, some of my lowest times, darkest times, like that rock of having a father in my life. And I'm talking about my biological father before I even get to spiritual fathers, substitute fathers and such. But having the opportunity and the privilege to connect with my biological father really, really helped me, helped me pull through. And yeah, there's nothing like it. Like God knew what he was doing.
Powerful. I appreciate that. Appreciate it, TD. Ben, brother, talk to us, man. I mean, why is this topic important for our generation in terms of like fatherhood and the impact on sons?
These kind of conversations, hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can. You're
Yeah.
good, yeah.
These kind of conversations, they bring healing to other men. When you have men who are able to be vulnerable about what they've been through with their fathers, whether absent or present, is able to have an impact on other guys who have either been through the same thing or are going through the same thing. So we could be a way out for somebody else, to avoid mistakes, to avoid disappointment, to avoid certain things. And I'm not saying that it's going to be the answer to everything, but when it brings some sort of healing towards somebody, that's the best thing that anyone can do. And so having an opportunity to be on this kind of platform, with the rest of the brothers and share our experiences, I know that someone somewhere will be able to relate somehow, and receive that healing that they need. Because again, I think I mentioned this before, we have too many broken people in our generation trying to fix broken people. So if we're able to get to the point in our lives where we're able to share our experiences and how we overcame them or how we're dealing with them, we'll be able to have a generation of people who are able to learn from that and avoid having certain mistakes, or avoid having repetition and being have it taking place in their lives, if that makes sense.
And just quickly as well, I mean, for yourself, was your father always present? Was he not present? How was the situation between you and your biological father?
Oh, my biological father never existed.
Yeesh.
Never existed until I was about. I found out he existed when I was maybe around almost 20.
Okay.
And I met him for the first time when I was 21.
Mm.
And the first time I met him was not the best of situations. In fact, it probably made me resent him even more.
Mm.
And then we tried to fix things. It didn't really work out. And then before I got married, my wife was like, "Look, let's try and fix the situation. You guys have to be buddies, but before you get married and start your own family, make sure that there are no gaps, no loopholes, if that makes sense." So my way of forgiving him was actually inviting him to my wedding, and him being able to see me having a strong relationship with my half brothers and sisters who I got to know afterwards as well. And I've built not the best of relationships with all of them, but some of them, like, we are like brothers and sisters, even though we haven't known each other for long. And him being at the wedding, even though it was a bit awkward for everybody, but it was my way of release, because he was able to see that, you know what, even though I wasn't in Ben's life, for as long as he's alive now, I could see that he's doing good. And the fact that I was able to have him there, forgive him, and see past that for me was just my release and healing. Once in a while, I'll send him a message and he might reply back and all these things, but what's done is done. Do you get what I'm saying? And unfortunately, we can't turn back the hands of time. If he wants to have a relationship now, of course, I'm not gonna be like, no. Do you get me? Everybody deserves a chance. We're celebrating Easter. I'm gonna start preaching again. But we're celebrating Easter. Do you get what I'm saying? God has given us the chance to be able to come to Him every single day. So I'm not gonna block that out. But my way of release was to invite him there, and I've been good ever since. I don't have any resentment towards him.
Appreciate it, Ben. Thank you. Appreciate it. Faith. Let me get you in the chat, man. Big man. Why is the your vid is so strong? Look at this guy. For you, why is a topic like fatherhood and the impact on sons important? Why is it important to discuss, I guess, the impacts of a father in a son's life? And also for yourself as well, was your biological father involved with you from the very beginning? Has he always been there? How was that like? If you kindly let us know, sir.
It's a very, very interesting topic, and it's important because the science debates whether we are taught or we are born with certain abilities. And the more I grow, the more I think about how things work, the more I learn that it's more to do with what we see around us as we're growing up, or what we learn from growing up. So it's not just you're never really born with something per se. You really just learn what's around you in your environment. It might not be the exact same thing, but it may be as a result of what you've seen around you while you're growing up. So that's why it's important to have these conversations, because sometimes we go through things that we do not properly talk about or discuss in order to understand why it's happened, understand where it's coming from, understand how best to overcome it if it's negative, and how best to move forward with it. So yeah, it's very, very important that we have these discussions. With me, it's mad, because when I deep it, how many of us? There's 15 of us all together. My father's side, there's 9 of us, and the rest are my mother's side.
Yes. Wow, big family.
Yeah. So growing up, technically I'm an only child. All my other siblings are half siblings. So growing up, I had my older brother, then me, then the rest on my father's side. One thing I commend my father for is he made sure that all his children were under the same roof from young. So even the ones that he had outside of marriage and all of that, he brought them into the house. And I think one of the things that I appreciate him for is he made sure that all our physical needs were met. So if it's money, he got rich quite well. Hence why the different women in his life, quite early in quite early in life. So hence why the different women. Women love money in Ghana. So yeah, my mom included, and yeah. So that
It's true.
that's
It's
me.
tell the
That's the
truth. Tell the
truth.
truth.
I have to say the truth, man. Um, so growing up, it was interesting because I never, I was never born to see my mom, biological mother and father together. So by the time I was born, I think they had separated, and they separated because first of all, there's the clash because my dad's side, the whole family, they are Mormons, and my
Oh
mother's
wow.
side, yeah, my mother's side, at the time she was a Baptist. So first of all, they had this clash with the religion, and then secondly, she was not my grandmother was not happy with my mother because my mother is quite, she has a character like if she sees something she's not happy with, she will make that clear. She
Mm,
doesn't care that you're older than her. She doesn't care that you're this or that. If she's unhappy with something, she'll say it. If
mm,
something doesn't sit well with her, she will open her mouth and say it. And I think something happened during one of the meetings with my grandmother, and she wasn't too happy, and it brought this whole stuff. So she wasn't happy with my dad marrying my mother. So he decided, okay, to have peace of mind, let me not marry her. So they didn't get married. But I think that was the best thing that ever happened to my mother. Um, yeah, because looking at my dad and my stepmother's marriage, that's something that I would never want to myself replicate.
mm,
And having my mom remarry and see my stepdad and my mom's marriage, that's something I'll happily replicate. Like
mm,
you see the difference of the role because my dad made sure there was money, made sure there's a roof over our head, made sure there was clothes on the back of her skin, but he wasn't emotionally present in our lives. He would go to work, come home, he's extremely tired, so he would just be sitting there watching TV and fall asleep. There's no conversation about puberty. There's no conversation about girls. There's no conversation about this or that. All he cares about is you're getting your education, you're being fed. That's it. He's happy with that. So I tend to growing up. I tend to like build a better relationship with my stepdad when it came to emotional support, when it came to having conversations, when it came to being a man and stuff like that. Because what my stepdad will do is sometimes my mom, as I said, as I told you, my mom, she will tell you what she wants to tell you, and sometimes I'd go crazy about it with how she would deliver it, whatever she would say, and it will cause trouble between me and her. My stepdad would sit me in a car, we would just go for a drive, and he'll have a good chat with me, come back and
mm,
have a chat with my mom, and make sure the whole situation is resolved. My dad, I would never have seen my biological father do that. With
mm,
him, if there's any sort of confrontation, first, he doesn't like confrontation.
mm.
Secondly, if there's any sort of confrontation, he would just disconnect.
I
He
hear
would
you.
say the first few words and that's it, he disconnects.
Mm,
And when he disconnects, that means that whatever the consequences are to whatever it is that you've done, you're meeting or you're dealing with that yourself. He
mm-hmm.
doesn't care that you're going to prison. He doesn't care. He'll just leave you to deal with it. That's it. Like growing up, this is what I saw. Like my older brother, because his mum was also different. So my mum is different. My older brother's mum is different. The, his current wife had is it 6 children from her side. Then
Wow.
after the second one, he had an affair outside of marriage and had another child. And it seems like there's even more that we don't know about. We're
Hey.
hearing things, so we're about to dive into that. The next time I go to Ghana, that's another conversation altogether. So like, there's a lot of things that would go on happening, and it's just a mess. So
Mm,
these are the things because he was not there emotionally or to help us grow into the men that we needed to be. It made it difficult for some of us. And my
mm,
older brother, because there were other influences involved, because he was not doing his job right, my uncles who were living with us, they felt like they had to step in, and they stepped in the wrong way. And my older
mm,
brother, having feeling like already I'm in a situation where I'm not too happy with my stepmother, or I'm in a volatile situation, I will not let anybody just come and do or say anything just like that. So he always had to be the one to fight back. And me seeing the implications of him fighting back and everything, I had to be the good one and sort of mellow down. Whenever anything goes wrong, he'll be the one to quick. He will, like my older brother was like, in Ghana's terms, they will call him the trouble child, basically, because he will not take any nonsense from anybody. If you're not his father, he's not hearing anything from you. And the thing is, in Ghana, certain people, especially family members, can feel I'm trying to find the right word, entitled
Titled,
to to take a certain role in the home just because they're related to the man of the house or something like that. But my brother had to be the one to step up and be like, no, you're not saying this, you're not doing this, I'm not accepting this from you. You can abuse me, you can beat me up, you can do that, I don't care, I'm not having that. You can go ahead and beat me up, but I'll make sure that everything that I have to say, I've said it before you beat me up. So I had to, because he was doing that, and it was in some way causing them a lot of stress because they were not easily getting what they wanted. I didn't want to add onto that pressure. I basically had to calm down and take a step back. But in doing so, I learned a lot of things. I saw how things were going, and even getting into marriage, there are certain things that I saw my dad do that I felt, do you know what? I'm not gonna come out like this. I'm not gonna do that. And sometimes I see myself doing these things because this is innate. These are things that I've seen happen, and it had been logged in my, what's it called? In my unconscious. So you see yourself automatically doing these things. Then I have to basically just rethink about the whole situation and be like, yo, this is what your dad was doing, and you said you not be like him in this marriage. You said you not be like this, so you have to now change it. So how will you change it? Just reassess the whole situation and find a way around it and come around to it. Like my dad, I never saw my dad be affectionate to my stepdad, to my mom, my stepmom. I never saw my dad tell my stepmom that he loved her or that he loved us. I never saw any of those things. And every now and then I have to remind myself, you have to tell your wife you love her. You have to give your wife a hug. You don't only show affection when you're about to have sex. That's not it. You have to when she needs cuddling, she needs caressing, all of that jazz. You have to consistently and constantly do those things. And it's a big learning curve for me every day. So yeah, because this is not what I grew up in. This is not what I grew up knowing. So yeah, you work around it. But the main point is you have to be willing and ready to learn to change those things that you've grown up knowing. Yeah.
Thank you, Faith, for that. Appreciate it, man. You just open up a question for me as well to ask the panelists. I guess I want to ask everyone real quick. How many times have you heard your dad say, I love you? So I'm going to go TD. How many times have you heard your dad say, I love you, TD?
Too many to count. Too many to count.
Love the answer. Appreciate that. Ben, real quick, how many times have you heard your dad say, Ben, I love you?
You know what? Never. That's my stepdad as well. My biological father. It was only my adopted father and my wife's father, my father-in-law, that later on, when I lived with my adopted dad, and when I got married, that's when I first heard the words, I love you, son. So yeah, it was only maybe about 6 years ago, 7 years ago that I experienced that for the first time. And then again when I got married. But in terms of growing up, for about 18 years, never.
Okay. We'll come back to you as well so you can tell us the impacts. Yeah. Faith, you bro. What's up, bro? Yes, sir. How many times did you hear your dad say I love you?
Never. Up till now, I've never heard him say I love you. I try sometimes to text it to see if I'll get a reply, but never. What about my stepdad? Yeah, my stepdad, every now and then when you text it, he replies it, or when you say it, he replies it. He replies back to it. But that's pretty much about it. Ben, it's interesting that your father-in-law would say "I love you." I've not got that from my father-in-law ever.
He said the bid is too
That,
strong. I can't
I
tell you I
think
love you.
I think that would be a bit weird for me. I don't know how I'm going to react to that, but yeah, I definitely think if I was to tell him I loved him, he would actually reply it. But it's just a weird on my side. It's just a bit weird for me,
Weird.
a weird territory for me to go to, because I hear him say it to his daughter. He will not say it, like he will not initiate it, but when his daughter, my wife, says it, he says it back. When his wife says it, he says it back. So I've heard him, and I know that if I was to say, "Oh, I love you, Dad," or "Love you, Ajase," he would
Respond.
yeah, he would respond the same thing. But it's just a bit of a weird territory for me. Not gonna lie.
I hear that. I hear that. Okay, cool. I mean, obviously for myself, I think I've heard my dad say it a few times. Probably needed it a bit more than I realized. Because I think us men sometimes become very independent very, very quickly. But I do notice an impact of not having it as much as maybe I needed it. But again, I think my dad had his own situation. He didn't have his father in his life, so the mere fact that he's there, as I've grown up, I've kind of understood that a bit more and appreciate the fact that he actually was there for me. But let me ask TD, because TD's got a different experience to all of us in regards to hearing it often. So TD, what's the impact again and the influence that you have realized from hearing this word "I love you"? Because some of us ain't been hearing this, bro. Like, I know you was like, what? But yeah, bro, some of us are not hearing this word, bro. It's an alien word to a lot of us. So, what's the significance for you and the impact for you as a man hearing "I love you"?
Yeah, bro. Listen, this has hit me hard. I think sometimes we can be so much in our own world that we don't. It's not intentional, but we don't really acknowledge the fact that not everyone's experience is yours. And I'll tell you now, bro, it's liberating, it's exhilarating. You feel validated, assured. When you go out into the world and the world rips you apart, you hear and you come back and you hear something like "I love you." There's so much solidarity in those words, and I think considering the figure that we're discussing in terms of a father, when a father says it, it's almost like there's nothing else that needs to be said. There's really, if there's any words that you could want to hear, just to encourage you, take you forward, just "I love you, man. Like, you're working hard, you're doing a good job. I love you." It just there's so much it represents. It's difficult to quantify, and conscious of time, I could talk on and on and on and on about the implications of hearing your father say that to you. It takes a lot. I can appreciate that. Maybe considering, being a man and what, the toll it takes in the world we're in, I can see that potentially it might even take a lot for a man to say that to anybody else, let alone his or her own, his child. Sorry. But honestly, when you hear those words, boy, it's almost like nothing else matters. Almost like nothing else matters. It's like, life is rough, but my father loves me. The one who gave me life in this world loves me. He's got my back. He's supporting me. I don't know, difficult to explain, but it's the sentiment. I think it's a real, there's a real backing you feel. It may not be financial support you're getting. It may not be, you may not even be receiving like mentoring or coaching from your father. He may not be giving much of an input, like in a tangible sense, but you hear "I love you," it gives you a boost. Gives you a boost, man.
Do you find it hard to say "I love"? Like, if I know you've been in relationships as well before, do you find it hard to say the words "I love you"?
Nope. "I love you" is one of the easiest things I can say, and that's to my nephews, to my brothers, to everybody. Like, I don't know if it's characteristic of this conversation in isolation, but it certainly helps to hear it. Reinforces that it's okay to love somebody. I think that when you do say "I love you," the words coupled with your actions and such kind of define what kind of love that is. But like, I was on a Zoom call with my nephew earlier on today. I was teaching him the keyboard. I'm signing off. I say, I love you, kid, because I want him to know. I want him to feel like even when the world beats him up and he comes back, he's 5 years old. Listen, you've got people who love you. You've got people who are around you. We're backing you. We're supporting you. We're holding your hand through this journey of life, tough enough as it is. And God knows that there are enough people out there in the world that do not love you at all. Zero. Listen, there's a lot of fake people who will say they love you and they don't really. There's a lot of all this kind of so it's like you've got to really, well, at least from my perspective, establish yourself as a presence in someone's life. That I love you, I've got you. If you need to talk, I'm here. You need support, I'm here. Whatever I can do for you, anywhere I can serve you, I've got you. That's kind of what I live by. And honestly, when I look at my dad, it makes sense because I see that in his life. I see that in his life.
Appreciate it, TD. Thanks for that, man. Appreciate it. Ben, since we're coming to you next, sir. So, after hearing TD, man used the word, in fact, someone even put it in, they said, listen, man said exhilarating. I've been missing out, chai. Listen, he used the word exhilarating. You understand? For you, Ben, what impact have you noticed about not being able to hear those words, I love you, Ben? Or even I'm proud. That's another word that we also don't hear as Ghanaians, some of us. What kind of impact has that had on you, big man?
It had a massive impact on the way that I behaved, the way I did things, the way I treated people, and so it was hard for me to love people first, if that makes sense. And so in relationships, in so many things, to hear the word I love you from me, Charlie, it's not in my vocabulary, because growing up it's not in my vocabulary anyways. Do you get what I'm saying? And so it was one of those things where I had to learn how to love, at a very late stage. I know that my mum always tried, my mum will tell me she loves me all the time, but there's a difference when somebody that you've grown up with that is a male figure in your life tells you that they love you. It makes all the difference. Do you get what I mean? And I remember when my adopted dad took me in and he was like, you're my son, I love it. I was like, bro, you get what I'm saying? Like, he was like, you're my son, you're one, and he already had 4 boys, and he was like, no, you're my son, I'm taking you in. Like, I was like, is this for real? Like, do you get what I'm saying? And it's not like he was a wealthy man. He's got everything. Do you get what I'm saying? So I was like, what do you need me for? And so when he was expressing that, and he would do it through action and he would tell me that he's proud of me, that felt different. Do you get what I mean? And it opened me up a little bit. And I remember when I called him dad by accident one time, and the whole place just went quiet. To be honest, I made the whole place go quiet. I was like, man, I fell in this trap, But that's because he made sure that I was surrounded by people who loved me, if that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, our relationship wasn't perfect. I was a bad boy. That's probably one of my worst times,
Christian bad boy, yeah.
Growing up. Like when I hit 18, do you get what I'm saying? That was like, for him to even find love, I don't even know where he got that from. Do you get what I mean? Because those were like my worst times. I was just getting into my zone of like womanizing. So it was like, you know what I'm saying? So all these things was just like, it's brand new. And I remember, trying to cultivate these things, take this all in. And it made me think that if I had received this earlier, a lot of things would have been different. A lot of situations that I found myself in, I wouldn't be in, because I found out that growing up, I was always trying to prove my biological father and my stepfather wrong. Do you get what I'm saying? And then getting into marriage now, I always said that, you know what, I don't want to treat my wife the way that my stepdad treated my mom. I don't want to treat my kids the way that my biological father treated me. Because out of all the 11 brothers and sisters that I have, I was the only one that had no relationship whatsoever. Which always made me think that why is it that I was one that was separated from everyone? What made things even worse, and I was sharing this with some of the guys the other day. I was saying what made things worse was the fact that my older brother, who was my half brother, lived in Stockholm. I lived in Vauxhall. We're 10 minutes apart. You know, that's crazy. When I tried to get assigned to a gang, I'm not going to name any names or anything. When I got beaten up, I found out that my brother was one of the head of that gang that I tried to get myself involved in. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like you kept all these things away from me. Do you get what I mean? Like you hid these things. And I was like, I don't want to get myself into a relationship and express it. But you know what? What's so weird was the fact that even having that mentality, I still didn't know how to treat women right. I still didn't know how to look after my own kids. Do you get what I'm saying? It was until, and I'm sorry, but I have to be very honest, but it was until I gave my life to Christ properly.
Come on now.
That's when I understood the real love of God, and that how your character and behavior can change, and you can love people. Why? Because He first loved me.
Come on now.
Do you get what I mean? So it was Christianity that made me understand that, you know what? There is nothing on this earth that man can't do for you. The Bible says that the heart of man is desperately wicked. We are born into sin. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's in our body to be desperately wicked. But there's somebody that said, hey, I think better of you. And the joke of all of it is that irrespective of who I am, He still accepts me. But with man, when you do something wrong, they will reject you.
Yeah.
So there were times where, you know, I'll fall out with my adopted dad, for example, because I've done something wrong. And the first instance will be like, okay, then do you know what? Let's put Ben aside. Yes, he would tell me that he loves me, of course, but there'll be discipline. But with God, it's like, okay, do you know what? Yes, there is discipline, but I'm still going to accept you in. And when I caught that revelation, I was able to start acting right. I was then able to now start advising other people and say, hey, do you know what? He first loved you, so we must love him back. Then that's when I was able to now repeat the words, I love you, to my adopted dad. I love you, to my father-in-law. Yeah, the first time he said it, when my father-in-law said it, I was a bit like, do you know what I mean? But I realized that he was coming from a place of, do you know what? You're my son. You marry my daughter doesn't make you my son-in-law. It makes you my son. And I was like, rah, like, I've never seen it like that before. And my mother-in-law will say that as well. And that's the reason why me and my mother-in-law were so close. Because she'd be like, look, I don't see you as a son-in-law. What is the point in that? Yeah. What, just because you've married my daughter, then no, you're my son. You are part of us. And that's what made me realize that, you know what? Love has no bounds. But the earlier you are exposed to love, the better.
Yeah.
And that's me being honest. And I'm not even just talking about being a Christian or whatever it is. The earlier you are exposed to love, especially when it comes from a male figure, and I'm not talking about love in a sexual, I'm talking about actual love, where someone takes care of you and they don't feel like they have to do it. They do it anyways. The earlier you're exposed to love, the better it is for the individual growing up. And I say this all the time. If I had received that, a lot of the mistakes I made never would have taken place. You know, and I say this, I had 2 kids before I got married. If I had known how it is to love them, I would have taken care of them a lot better than how I do now. You know, and I thank God for my wife. I thank God for the family that I have, because they taught me how to do that. But it was a little bit later. Do you get where I'm coming from? If I'd learned this before, when I was growing up from 0 to about 20, a lot of things would be different. The world probably will be a better place. Do you get what I'm saying? All the pain that women had gone through because of me probably wouldn't have taken place, because I would have known at least something better. You know, so that was the impact of not having the words "I love you" in my early stage. It caused a lot. But hearing it now, I'm cool. So yeah, you know I mean? Like, I'm cool now. Like I even tell people as well, like, look, I love you. We care about you. you know, we want to be there for you. I'm able to express it. I mentor some guys. I told them, look, I love you, irrespective of what you're going through. I love you. When I talk to my son, he's like, love you, daddy, and I'm like, I love you too. But now it's like, hey, I'm saying, I'm the one saying it first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Jay, like, I love you. He's like, okay, dad, I love you too, and then puts the phone down. My daughter as well. My daughter says it every day. Daddy, and she gives me a big hug in the morning. She'll slap my face. Daddy, I love you, and I'm just like, yeah, babe. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the enjoyment of accepting it and receiving it and giving it out. But I wish I'd had this earlier. That's why I do whatever I can do to share love with people now rather than later. Because you never know what the words I love you can do. It can save someone, you know. And this is not even being a Christian, even in the marketplace, it can save someone. Someone that's feeling suicidal, who's not even a Christian. It could even be a Muslim. Saying those words to someone and meaning it, it goes a long way.
Appreciate that, Ben. Thank you for that. Faith.
Bro.
Whew. It's getting deep real quick, man. But what's the impact of you not hearing this I love you word, man? Is it a big deal like that, man? For you, was it a big deal not hearing the words I love you or I'm proud of you? You know what I'm saying? Like not hearing those comforting words. What's the impact on you, man, growing up?
Bro, you learn to build a tough skin. And with me, what I think I did was I basically learned to just not feel anything at all. Like, can you guys? I feel like I'm lagging.
You're lagging, but we can hear you, so you're good. You're good. We don't see you often. You pause on the screen, but we'll hear you. Go for it. You got some funny photos when you pause, though. I'm not gonna lie to you, but go on, fam.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what I basically was doing was
Bro, your pauses are mad, fam. The way you're pausing this photo, fam. Bro, you got
anyway,
like
what I was doing was because I was not hearing it, I was not seeing it, I was not feeling it. I basically just stopped. I stopped feeling it. I stopped not feeling it. I stopped myself from feeling it, or from allowing people to give it to me. So even with my wife, it was a bit of a push and pull, because it got to a point where I felt like she was showing too much love. At some point, I felt overwhelmed. So I started just pushing her further away, even without realizing, because I'm not used to it. I don't know what this is. I don't understand it. And that in itself was trouble, because she had to deal with that. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of pain. She has to have a lot of patience for me in order for me to grow to where she needs me to be, even though I'm still not there yet. It will take a little while for me to get there, but, you know, we're working on it. But yeah, like, I felt like I don't need to feel that way. I don't need it. I've survived so far. Why do I need that? Why is she showing me love? And there were certain things about myself, especially like when we started going out, that I told her about myself, that it felt weird that she was still here. I felt like, why are you even still in this relationship? Like, why do you care? There were times that I would feel so bad about myself that I would think, why do you even care? But these things actually encourage us. They make us feel like someone actually cares what you're doing, what you're going through. There was one particular thing that she used to do that like used to encourage me a lot, because that time I was very, very active with Heritage UK, with modeling, with a lot of other stuff. And she would every now and then tell me, I'm really proud of you and I see you as an inspiration. You are an actual inspiration for me to do better for myself. And that sentence there, up till now, it keeps me going. It keeps me going, because there are a lot of stuff that I've experienced, or I'm even still experiencing now, with regards to work, all of that jazz, that because of that statement that she made, it keeps me going. And her actions and her continually forcing me to say I love you. Continually forcing me to say I love you. It keeps me going. It keeps me pushing. It keeps me from self-sabotaging or being a horrible person because you realize that someone actually really cares about you, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what you're going through, regardless of whatever behavior you're portraying. Someone loves you, so why not just be the best version of yourself, so that the person can love you wholly. The person can love you without having any doubts. The person can love you without having to worry about you in general. Hearing those things, it really helps. I love you, I'm proud of you, you're doing good. Because me, for instance, I can beat myself up, especially when I don't meet my targets. um Obviously, I was living by myself for like 5 years
Mm.
before I got married. No one to share stuff with, no one to to go out and come back to in the house and stuff like that. So you learn to sort of be within yourself. You give yourself the encouragement you need. You give yourself the support that you need. You give yourself the affirmation that you need, which you don't do very well because it's you telling yourself when you know you're
Mm.
in your head anyway. So it's not really going the way that it should go. Whereas if you have someone else, an external input, that makes it makes it completely different. It makes it completely different. So people love you, but it's good to hear them say it. It's definitely good to hear them say it, and it does encourage you. It does help you to be a better person, and it makes you very emotionally. What's the word? I'm looking for a certain word. Basically, it makes you aware of your emotions. It makes you aware of other people's emotions.
Mm.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, Faith. Appreciate that. Man, it's got some stuff out here, man. Do you know what I mean? I think obviously just hearing everybody what they've been saying, I think the impact of hearing, yes, TD. I think the impact of hearing "I love you" is such a big thing for us men. I think because, we go out into that world. There's a cold world out there, man. We're trying to figure out how to be a man. And many of us are picking up different skills, different traits, different characteristics while we're out there. And oftentimes a lot of our movements are triggered by wanting that love, or wanting to at least hear that love, that somebody loves you and cares for you and has your back. I think that's one of the major things, you know what I mean? As a man, you want to know that someone's got your back, which I think is why a lot of people do join, gangs and stuff. Because listen, when you got no one to have your back, listen, it's a cold world out there, You need people that have your back. So when you can find a crew, people, anybody that will have your back, you want to instinctively show that loyalty back to them as well, because you know how it is to be alone. And I think for myself, my dad was there, so by the grace of God, and the love word wasn't as heavy, you know what I'm saying, and the "I'm proud of you" wasn't as heavy, but he was always there. And so that's something that I took as, okay, cool, do you know what, maybe I'm not going to hear this "I love you" word as often, or "I'm proud of you" as often, but I know that he does care and he is there for me, and I can pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, Dad," da, 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 da. Do you know what I mean? Especially if it comes to Bible. That guy, boy, if you're calling about Bible, that guy can chat. Yes, Dad, you can chat when it comes to Bible. That guy, hey, Jesus. That's when I know, when I want to open him up. I'm just like, "So, Dad, what did you read last week?" "Oh, son, let me tell you, man, it's been deep." I say, "Hey, Dad." You know what I mean? So you find your ways to connect. You know what I mean? So I definitely hear the boys on that as well, and how "I love you" means a lot. TD, obviously, you, like I said, you've got a different experience to some of us as well. But what were some of the lessons then that you have learnt from interactions with your father? What kind of lessons as a young man have you learned from interactions with your father, good or bad? What have you learned?
Well, I think first of all, I've learned that my dad is a human,
Mm.
and I think you, as a kid, it's not everyone that's experienced this, but those who maybe grew up around their dad and had the opportunity to see and spend time with them, you build there's like a natural Superman complex. It's like, my dad can do anything. My dad's bigger than your dad. My dad's stronger than your dad. My dad has more money than your dad. This kind of talk. And you grow, and maybe there are vulnerable moments as you grow where, at least in my experience, you know, you could see, okay, this happened and it wasn't the best, or my dad shares something very, you know, very open, very transparent, that, you know, this happened when in my life, and, you know, this is what I did. And when you see that, it's just incredible to see, you know, someone who, you know, in no way, shape, or form really owes you that you know, level of kind of, well, I mean, it's arguable, but no way, shape, or form does your dad have to condescend and tell you the ins and the outs, you know. And it's just like, wow, my dad's human too, but he's managed to overcome, he's managed to reach some level of success, he's managed to attain and achieve through grafting, through hard work, through many dangers, toils, and snares, as I like to quote the songwriter. So one of the main things I've learned is my dad is human, and that's helped me to live my life. That's helped me to kind of make mistakes and say, listen, it's not the best that you make a mistake, but it's okay, because you can get back up, you can recover, you can bounce back, you can do something about it. You know, it's not doom and gloom. You don't have to end in a stupor. You can still make something of yourself when you feel like you're backed up in a corner. I think one of the other things I've learned about, you know, life, or learned from my dad, is that, you know, you should never, in a way, you should never feel ashamed to kind of like ask for help. I mean, my dad has spoken so many words of wisdom. I think even in a way, kind of my ethos of helping people, you know, obviously we're talking about fathers, so I'm not neglecting the mother's side. The mother's side's definitely there. But when I look at my dad, I see, wow, my dad's proper connected. Even I think earlier today, I was thinking about this talk, and I was thinking about one time when I used to work in the retail bank of the branch of the bank I work for. And someone came to the counter, and I think she noticed my name badge, and she said, "Oh, you're Paul's son." And I was like, "Yeah." She started telling me all this wonderful things about my dad. And I was like, man, that's my dad, yo. That's, you know, I was like, what, 24, 25, but like, I'm still flexing. That's my dad, man. You know, I take great pride in, you know, his ability to go through struggle, go through difficulty, go through adversity. As a human, he's not, you know, it's not this kind of thing where it's like, you know, sometimes we throw the book at guys. It's like, you're supposed to be like up here and you're here. And it's like, but when you really look at what human beings are, what we are, like, actually, it's probably more like we're down here, but you're still managing to climb and rise and operate on this level. Like, I'm so enamored by that. And it's like, man, I want to strive, you know. I think in my older years, a lot of biblical knowledge, which my dad started to download on us, like it was almost like, Dad knows the Bible, yo, guys. Like, he just started to download a certain phase in our lives. It's just like teaching us hard truths about the word and stuff. It's like, man, when you learn these things, it's so amazing, you know, to see that, okay, my relationship with God, it's not just by accident. Maybe it's actually something that was inherited through, you know, my dad's relationship with God and some of the promises he made to God, some of the covenants he made that, in a way, we kind of got roped into. Like, you know, even when you talk about, you know, people joining the gang, like I said, you know, I grew up in the early stages of my life, and my dad wasn't in the house, but we had a relationship. It was, you know, in a way somewhat distant, because when you're a child, you don't really often know how to connect. So it was that kind of every 2 weeks we go and see dad on the weekend and stuff, you know. And in a way, the church became my gang in terms of finding love and all of this stuff. But dad was still there. He still had active input, still showing love and support. But then as we grew, you know, and he started connecting with us on deeper levels, and as we became men and started to understand and identify with some of his experiences, man, the whole thing blew open, man. It was just like, whoa, this guy. Like, I remember a conversation with my dad. Sorry, I'm waffling, but I remember a particular conversation with my dad. And my dad started to tell me about myself. I proper deep dive. I thought to myself, like, I like to think of things very objectively, not subjectively. So I thought to myself, like, this is my dad who hasn't grown up with me. He hasn't seen me, you know, he hasn't seen my tendencies, but he knows exactly who I am. He knows exactly what I get up to. Like, he knows how I operate. He was like, yeah, you're the kind of guy who X, Y. And I was like, man, how like, is he psychic or something? Like, how does he get this? I was so like, wow, like, And I mean, the takeaways are endless, man. The takeaways are endless for me, at least. Like, I learned so much from hearing him speak, even if it's indirect. Just watching him, I'm blessed. I was with my dad yesterday. I value the input he's had in my life. I feel that having that kind of strong example from him and others has helped me to be a father figure to other people at such a young age, because I'm still a young man. I like to think of myself as one anyway. But yeah, man, honestly, like, there's a lot of input and a lot of life lessons learned from my dad, which are invaluable.
Love that. You know what? And just to even add to your thing before I let the other boys go. I remember something that I've learned from my dad as well is just is as a man, being true to your word, innit? Do you get me? Like, if my dad says, "Listen, it's not happening," you already know it's not happening. like that is like that was one of the things that I loved about him. He said, "Listen, if I say yes, it's gonna happen. If I say no, it's not gonna happen." And you lived and died by that. Do you know what I mean? And I remember one fond moment. I always remember this moment. I remember I was playing in the estate or whatever, right? And I was always like the kind of odd one out at the estate because my energy is just different. I'm not really the rough around the edges kind of guy. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a bit more softer. And I remember I was kicking ball with some of the guys, and one of the guys just took my ball and kicked it over. And I was like, "Bro, what's wrong with you, bruv? Like, why are you doing that?" Before I knew it, the guy's pushing me, and I said, "Actually, I'm not gonna get involved." These guys then chased me, locked me in. Like, the estate has like a chute where the bins go into. They locked me into this toilet, into this basement thing, bruv. Like, I was just mad, and I was just like, why am I suffering like this with these guys, bruv? Eventually, I get out. One of the other guys follows me to my house or whatever in the estate. We're getting a lift, and I know something's gonna come, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen. Gets to like an odd floor. I was like, this guy don't even live here, so what's he doing? The door's open. Before I know it, bang, punches me in my eye. Gets out, runs out. I go home, and I was like, do I tell dad? Do I not? I was like, I don't really need dad being involved in these spats. I was thinking to myself, I don't want no kid getting crazy. I see these guys stabbing people, nonsense, and all this stuff. It shouldn't be my dad that should come and get involved. But I was like, okay. I just said, okay, dad, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. Some guy just punched me in my eye, bruv. Like, da da da. He said, what? I said, Dad, can we just leave it? Like, I'm just trying to tell you this. I feel better now. I've told you, etc. No, we're going downstairs. So, all right, cool. Man's going downstairs, yeah. I kid you not. Like, we get downstairs where the cages is, and there's about at least 10 to 15 man. And these guys are not short because there's youngers and elders, as you guys know. There was elders with them, right? These guys are 6'1", 6'2", looking half braided hair, looking crazy, bruv. Yeah, ready to risk their life for anything. Dad gets there, says, "Which one is the one that did it?" I said, "Dad, like, can we just leave it alone?" He said, No. Which one is the one that did it? Let me know. So I said, "Okay, this little you here." And so the bigger brother of the kid got involved. He was like, "Listen, I don't care what happened, bruv. Don't talk to my brother, blah blah." My dad's like, "Listen, today I'm gonna show you guys." I said, like, "Please, Dad, there's 15 man. Like, can we just get it going?" Yeah. So this guy is like saying, "Listen," this guy says, "Look, blood, you wanna challenge 15 man?" I said, "Dad, see, he said you wanna challenge 15 man. I don't know why, Dad, like, we can go in it." Before I knew it, blood, the guy's got a scooter. So you know how the scooter spins when you think it. So the guy's gone and swung the scooter at his head. And my dad's ducked it. Now, I was surprised because the speed of how he ducked, I said, "Bro, you never ducked like mine. You ain't never done it before. What's that?" I was like, "Bro," he ducks the scooter. And he's like, "Listen, if you try, you will die today." I'm like, Dad, just to let you know, there's 15 man. I don't know how that's going to happen, right? Luckily for us, the police actually came. I don't know how they saw it, but the police came. Because the police station is not far from us, like 2 minutes away. So somehow the police got involved and it came and everybody scattered. Us black people, as soon as police come, we scatter. But I remember the feeling of having that moment. Like, as much as I didn't want him to do nothing, the fact that he was willing to get involved to that extent. I remember as a son, I was like, yo, rah, you know what? I've got a superhero as a dad. The fact that, man, he might not tell me I love me, but the fact that he was willing to put his life on the line it's kind of mad because I was thinking to myself, bro, that there's too many men to be even involved in that. But I guess obviously maybe the Ben can even talk to that as a father now. You know, the willingness to want to die for your children. That you listen, no harm you want to come to them. So yeah, man, as that experience as a son, like it meant a lot. So yeah, I mean, Ben, you can probably speak to that a little bit as well in terms of being a father, but. Yeah, I mean, for yourself, what lessons did you learn, Ben, from your particular father and stuff? You can unmute yourself, bro.
For me, obviously I didn't really get any of that protection, so. But I mean, from now, looking at my daughter, my son, and even my eldest daughter as well. Like, if someone was to tell me something straight away, your antennas go up. Even when children come to the house and they're playing with my daughter, because of lockdown, my daughter didn't really get to play around with much kids. So now that, a lot of the kids are coming around and stuff, like it's a joy to see my daughter, happy. But when I see, something a little off already, you're just like, do you get what I mean? Because your children, they become your everything, as annoying as they can be sometimes, they're your everything. And the last thing that you want to do is to be known for someone that doesn't defend your kids. Do you get what I'm saying? And, as I said, I don't want to do the same mistakes that my fathers did. Do you get? I want to make sure that at least my reputation is intact with my children. Do you get what I mean? I don't care about everybody else. If I was to, if my cousin was to come to me and say, hey, Ben, I need you to defend me, and I find that there's a bag of man outside, I'm saying I'll think twice about it. I might have to make a couple of phone calls. But if it was my daughter, listen, we got to scuffle this thing to the end. Do you get what I'm saying? Of course, I'll probably have to say some prayers that will just find some lightning somewhere. You get what I mean? But you get what I mean? We don't know how fast God is going to answer that prayer. Do you get what I'm saying? So you got to do whatever you can do, do you get what I'm saying, to defend your kids. Like when you have kids, that's what I don't understand why, and I can only speak from the African culture, why so many Africans are so hard. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Because especially at a young age, when they're like age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going up, like you see the vulnerability, they copy what you do. They say the things that you say, they try to do the things that you do. You see how they are. Like, it's just, why would you not want to look after your kids or defend them at least? Do you get what I'm saying? And that's why sometimes I get a bit like, I wish that my son lived with me, because he's a boy. Do you get what I mean? Like, and in the day and age that we live in now, do you get what I'm saying? These young guys this young generation, they're ruthless.
Yeah,
they're not like how our generation used to be, where it was like, look, fist to fist.
Yeah, punch him up
let's
and
fight
leave
this
it.
thing out. Do you get what I mean? The winner is the king of the jungle. Do you get? Whereas now it's like the first thing is either let's kill you and that's it. Do you know what I mean? And so you want to do whatever you can do to protect your children. So for me, it baffles me when fathers don't want to protect their children. I get it. If they're a little bit older and they're disrespectful, that's different. But right now, while you have the chance to grow with them and help them, man, my kids are my everything, man. I might not be the best father, but I try my best to make sure that I'm there for them whenever I can be.
I appreciate it, bro, man. Thank you for that. Faith. What lessons have you... Well, I thought you was frozen again. I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I thought you was frozen again. The way you was like... I thought he was done. Yeah. Babe. What lessons, good or bad, did you learn from your father in respect to the relationship that you guys had?
Bro, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot I've learned. And I think just as I looked at my dad and thought, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, it's pretty much the same thing that I'm doing with regards to my children. And I think number one thing being the fact that I'm gonna do everything within my power to make sure that my children come from one woman. That's the first thing. That's my wife. That's it. No children outside. Not even any relationship outside of my marriage. That's number one lesson. Like, from time I made up my mind, like, because of what I went through as a stepchild in my father's house. And so I made sure that myself and my older brother, I remember us talking about it and saying that these are things that our dad has done, and that we are going to make sure that we don't replicate these things going forward. And that's number one thing for me. Like, my children have one mother, that's it. And they'll be under the same household. There's not going to be any split household, nothing of that sort. That one I've learned from my dad, and I'll keep that one as well. Like, all my children will be under the same roof. Um, being able to emotionally be there for them, not just provide financially and that's it, but being there emotionally for them as well. Um, those are the main things for me, and being able to communicate, like talk about everything and anything. I think one of the people that I look up to very very well is one of my friend's parents. Like, when you go to their home, it's like everybody is super relaxed, and everybody mocks everybody dances, everybody laughs, everybody, it's just a free house. Like, they talk about any and everything. There's no boundaries, there's no such thing as you're older than me, so this or that. The children have the respect for their parents, yes, but they pretty much like talk with them, dance with them, joke with them. Like, that's the kind of household that I want. Like, the Adipoku family, I'm just giving a little shout out here. Like, they are like my ideal sort of family or household that I want to see. And it's just, I like visiting them because it's just a lovely home to be in. It's super exciting, it's super relaxed, it's super everybody's talking, everybody's open to have a joke, everybody is communicating, everybody is eating. Like, it's just a nice household to be in. And that's the kind of environment I'm looking to create for my children, for my home, for my family, in the coming future. Obviously, Ben has started, so I've got a little catching up to do, but we'll get there.
I appreciate you, Faye. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, guys. Oh, sorry. Yes. Well, guys, we've reached the end of our hour. I know the conversation could have gone on further. I had a few more questions, but I want to respect the time. But I hope you guys, obviously, in the audience especially, have learned. Anybody watching this video after the time is done will also be blessed by this. We are trying to have conversations every week just about, for us men to gather around, talk, keep it 100% real. If you guys got an audience have got a topic for us men to discuss, email me and let us know. But I think this topic here is such an important one, just in regards to the fact that we were all impacted in different ways, and as you heard on the panel, even TD had a very positive experience. I had a bit of a middle ground, and we had Ben and Faith who didn't have as much of an experience. But you see that hearing their actual experiences, we've learned from it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, as I've heard from Ben, as I've heard from Faith, as I've heard from TD, I've learned in the sense of, when I'm going forward, what am I going to implement? What am I going to speak into the life of my children as well? Because it's important to be able to have these discussions before. I can see some people already saying we need part 2. Okay, we'll get a part 2 for you guys. That's CC. But yes, guys, I don't know if anyone wants to say anything last. Anybody have any last sentiments on their mind? TD, you have some last sentiments? Go for it.
Yeah, my sentiments are to the parents out there, because I think in my adult years, one of the other things I've seen is a lack of, candid, vivid expression of love. And I want to shout out to the parents. I'm leaning on you. Like, I'm known in my church for being a youth minister, someone who looks after the young people. I'm gonna just steal Faith's spot and say a shout out to the TDIs. The TDIs, the global TDIs. We're a network. I'm just gonna do it because Faith did it. So I'm rolling in that grace. But parents, tell your children you love them. Tell them frequently. Show it through your actions, because it's enough to reinforce. A lot of negativity is reinforced, and it's not always intentional. Your child doesn't do well in school, and everybody's had that parents' evening experience. everybody in one way, shape, or form is twisted, knocked, like all sorts of things, like madness happening. Like, but listen, parents, if you don't balance that with a lot of love, a lot of affection, a lot of warmth, it will impact your child. I promise you. And that's not me cursing you. That's just the way it is. Like, we're not going to preach, we're not going to get into scripture. But parents, I'm not a parent myself. I will be by the grace of God one day soon. But I've seen the impact in young people's lives. So, you know, and in grown-ups' lives. So parents, God gave your children to you as a gift. Let them know that they're a gift. Let them know. That's all I'm going to say.
Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that. Thank you, TD, for rounding up for us. Guys, you know what? We will see you guys next week, okay? And we'll have some more deeper, extended conversations. Ben, I have your details already on the description, so if anybody wants to support Ahava, I hope I said that right, because you know me and my pronunciations. I'll be saying Quavo, and they'll be getting at me. Hey, listen, let me ask a question to these guys before we jump off, guys. No, wait, let me ask you guys. Okay, Faith, I'm gonna go start with you first, because America's been getting onto my neck about this. They say, like for instance, Chicago, right? Faith, are you frozen?
They say what?
The way you froze, bro. I said, they obviously Chicago, right? Can you hear me? Hey, Faith.
Chicago, yeah.
Chicago, okay, Chicago,
yes,
right?
Can, but you're lagged.
I'm lagged. Are you lagged?
Yeah, it's from mine. It's not you.
Faith's moving mad, bro. Alright, okay, just listen. Okay, hear me out. So we'll have a discussion already, right, about pronunciations, and they pronounce CHI as the shy. So CHI is the shy, and I said, how can CHI be shy when shy is SHI? How did we get CHI? Am I a little bit crazy for saying that? Would you pronounce the CHI as the shy? Thank you. You're a sensible man. Ben, would you pronounce CHI as the shy?
No. So do they
Shy
say
Tiger.
China then? Or China?
The Americans have been getting onto him. Like, what? How do you pronounce?
Do they say Chicago or Chicago?
They say Chicago, but the CHI on its own is called the shy. They've been laughing at me for weeks about this. They've been laughing at me. Look, they even in their comments laughing at me. Bro, when they said it to me and corrected me, I said, how can CHI be shy? It's chi. I don't understand. So where did you get shy from? Chinese. You don't say Chinese. And I told them, I said, this is confusing. Anyway, guys, we'll leave you guys with that, man. If you're in the comment section, you discuss.
Actually, we are in a world of our own.
Someone asked, is Faith single? He's not. He's married. Let me shut that down real quick. Sorry, Taylor. But yes, guys, we're gonna love you and leave you. We appreciate you. We'll see you guys next week.